Tashmad Srila Bhaktivedānta Narayan Gosvāmī Māhārāja Srila Gurudev ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashatashmad Srila Bhaktivedānta Vāmana Gosvāmī Māhārāja ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashatashmad Srila Bhaktivedānta Swami Māhārāja Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashatashmad Srila Bhaktivedānta Swami Māhārāja. Sorry, I just did that. Srila Bhaktivedānta Swami Māhārāja Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashatashmad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Gosvāmī Māhārāja ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashatashmad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitila Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Srila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitila Pravishta Srila Sriranda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitila Pravishta Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa Gaudiya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Dash Raghunath Shara Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Bharata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund ki jai. Shri Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Shri Devananda Pandit ki jai. Tadir Tirubhav Titi ki jai. Shri Safala Akashi Titi jai. Titi Palan Kari Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Bo. Dandavat Pranams Ganga Didi. Alright, I'm sharing my screen now. It seems to be working on Facebook this time. And for those who are watching on Facebook right now, and if you, if you want to see the other readings I did from this book of letters from Srila Vāmana Gosvāmī Maharaj, you can check out my YouTube channel. You can access it all there. Alright, let me change the background. 1 second. Alright. Maybe this is better. Okay. So continuing on these letters from Srila Vāmana Gosvāmī Maharaj. And I'm proofreading these letters, by the way, so if you see something that I miss, let me know in the comments, then I can fix it. You can proofread with me. Alright. What the heck? There. No one can keep everyone happy. This is letter 4. Love is resilient and does not require one to compromise one's integrity. The deluding power of Maya. The inception of avaroha and avaroha-va. The panacea from its existence. So Srila Vāmana Gosvāmī Maharaj wrote this in 10/11/1970. Sadhara Sambhashana Purvikayam. Not here. If someone writes me a letter, be it sooner or be it later, I always respond. Even now, I have particular infamy. But in your father's case, I've broken the rule of mine, having been compelled to do so. All the letters he sent have come to my hands, refrained from responding, being at a loss as how to. I refrained from responding, being at loss as to how. But I did not fail to resort to another means of response. During our worshipful Srila Gurupad Padma's manifest presence, he had to deal with way too many difficulties to make arrangements for the preaching party that visited your region to observe Urjavrat. That meant that he, and I too, had to face profuse criticism. This is not known to your father. During Gurudev's time, he, Gurudev, did not arrange to have a permanent preaching party there. Since last year, Blank Maharaj, the names have been redacted, something. Blank Maharaj and Blank Maharaj went to Kashinagar. This year too, Blank Maharaj is in Navadvip. If he wants, he could go there with 2 or 3 brahmacharis prior to the start of the vrat. I sent a letter to Navadvip to send people. I wrote another letter to Shripad Narayan Maharaj in Mathura, asking him to send Blank Maharaj to Kashinagar. Later, I know that neither Blank Maharaj nor Blank Maharaj want to go to Kashinagar. Oh wait, this shouldn't have diacritics. 1 second, I need to highlight that. Okay. For place names that aren't like the Dham, we've been just putting the map name, the name that you'll find on the map. This year too, Maharaj is in Navadvip. If he wants, he can go to 3 brahmacharis to start of the vrat. I sent a letter to Navadvip to send people. I wrote another letter to Shripad Narayan Maharaj in Mathura asking him to send Blank Maharaj to go to Kashinagar. Later, I came to know that neither Blank Maharaj nor Blank Maharaj wants to go to Kashinagar. Being so far away, what can I do from here? It costs them 300 and 500 rupees for a single party to sit idle for a month. Given the current economic situation, this too is something to consider carefully. I am appealing to the good people of Kashinagar to consider this issue. Besides this, there are many other matters to consider as well. 1 second, I'm just checking that it's playing from the right mic. Audio. Okay. It is very happy news that you are delighted to read my letter. Amid the delight, you have submitted a few woeful matters. This too is not so bad. Someone can get a letter and feel sad. This is not an uncommon situation, because no one can adore each and every heart. Sarvita nari aradhita. No one on this earth has the capacity to satisfy everyone. I too am certainly not exempt. There is no reason for you to fear when you saw that I was in a grave mood. There can be no reason to fear if there is a tiger, bear, or some other sort of carnivorous animal. But what am I to do if, for no reason, you misunderstand a well-intentioned friend? You could have explained my quiet mood You could have explained my quiet mood quite well, as silence implying acceptance, monam samati lakshanam. In other words, you could have just expressed that you were hankering for affection. Did you insist on taking me to your house? If your father came to Blank Prabhu's house, all this conflict would be mitigated. But for whatever reason, that solution has not been adopted. I know fully well why this has not happened. That is why you do not see any change in my unyielding state of mind. I may not be omniscient, but I am well versed in mental speculation. Anytime there's a word that's underlined, that means that Srila Vāmana Goswami wrote that in English. There are very few people who can dupe me in this regard. Once you receive my letter, if you find your cottage on the rise, then instead of crying like a clueless baby, make your appearance in
verbal combat with me. I will not take offense even if you hurl my letter, but the cutting words of a sensible person are intolerable. To misbehave and to condone the same thing. I am not inconsiderate, nor am I merciless or unsociable, and I am not uncivilized. However, I am incapable of accepting licenses from those who are deceitful and think themselves well versed in Scripture. This is what the Scriptures called nirapekshata, indifference. Though the conduct of mine is harsh, there is possessiveness concealed within it, a fact you will only take to introspect deeply. What I have wanted to convey by exploring a crack in the affection is an occasion for contempt of one's object of worship. Manimoy madhe pipalika pashyati chidram. Ants seek. Is it really chidram? I need to look that up. Ants see crafts in temples made of jewels. Surely you have heard this proverb. This is what is being done to me in this case. This is what I want to say. In your father's opinion, he did not do any. This much I have understood, and I have abundant examples too. So when there is no chance of someone of making any mistakes or errors, how is it possible for said person to ask for kshama or map, measurement, pardon? Yate anaya iti maya. That which can be measured is maya. 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 Okay. That ya, which is not ma, is maya. This measuring mentality is itself the work of maya. The tendency to measure, to judge, Guru and Vaishnavas on the knowledge and intellect by our measuring scales is precisely what is to the dogma of avaroha-va, assuming one ascends the spiritual path solely by one's own prowess. It was to contradict this avaroha-va, the doctrine grace is the only resort. It was to contradict this, that avaroha-va, the doctrine that descending grace is the only resort, was created. In Tarka dialectic scriptures, deliberations are made from both deductive and inductive perspectives. Regardless, logical fallacies want to ignore both of these considerations and to determine something that is not real. Murares tritiya panta. Murari has yet a third way. By this logic, real and unreal guarded and a fanciful realm conjured, but it will never take form in reality. It is true that your father went to Navadip, but when he had been invited to Navadip, then cleverly and skillfully, he deliberately rejected the invitation. This is the understanding held by the managing committee of our samiti. I do not know how that helped him, but we can see it matches the proverb, after death comes the doctor. Now it is too late to manage the situation. This is the current situation. Even now, if the personal advice and intervention of the Samiti's unpaid political messengers of bad news are stopped, I believe the mutual misunderstanding will cease shortly. I always nurture an optimistic view in this regard. An optimist just wishes auspiciousness for the world. He is a believer in policies and coexistence. The Krishna Chandapur incident is part of the pre-existing stalemate, so there is no use worrying your mind over that. Act in the living present. This is today's progress. Conduct does not prove a lack of love and attachment for you. Believe me, it is still very much intact. One who omniscient Lord upset with? That I'm struggling to understand. However, Śrīmad Bhagavatam's notion of tatenu kampam is the best and greatest medicine for those afflicted by the disease of material existence. To call it a panacea is not an exaggeration. Once humans can understand their own mistakes, then humility, compassion, modesty, and respect for others manifests in their hearts. This is the very cause of well. This is how their hearts are purified. there is no point in any other sort of penance. Patience is bitter, but its fruits are sure. This is the real truth talk. Therefore, when the time is right, arrangements to communicate can be reinitiated. However, declaring jihad on one's god brothers, who are Srila Gurudev's wealth and splendor, and taking an inimical stance will not allow for any sort of settlement or compromise. I hope you have been able to follow what I'm trying to say. This is precisely what I've wanted to communicate to you as a sort of paradigm shift. Did he write paradigm shift in English? Maybe, probably not. I'm just going to highlight just to make sure. And also, it might be nice to give the footnote for this verse. So, okay. There's no reason for you to be sad. Even from over 1 million miles away, I can understand what you're dealing with. You do not need to worry about that. But know that my ability to predict the future and my powers of foresight are much extended than yours. I'm not saying this out of ego. If Sri Bhagavan gives you the Sukriti someday, then you'll understand. Just because someone with jaundice sees the world through yellow lenses does not mean that is what things actually look like. It is only through the eyes of faith and devotion that divine and godly devotees behold true reality for all eternity and worship that. Only that kind of vision engages the sadhak in the service he aspires for. That is the object of supreme longing for those who are fully versed in the Vedas. Sending my love and blessings to you. Please convey my regards to your mother and father. What more? Iti. Forever your well-wisher, Sri Bhaktivedānta Vāmana. Hold on a second, I just need to get... Okay. Descriptions of Sri Krishna are the perfection of literature, effects of kirtan, the importance of acting according to one's adhika. These are the different, the power of chanting a lakh, the contribution of Vaishnavi saints, the meaning of the name Uma, the power of association with Vaishnavas. So this is written in 1970, November 11th. Snehaspadasu. That means object of my affection. Ma Uma, I read the poem you wrote. It will be good if you edit it. Oh, and I saw Shiva sent me the poem that he's referring to here, because it's in the Gaudiya Patrika issue. It's a beautiful poem. Oh my God. It's full of viraha. Anyways, maybe we can translate it sometime. It's so beautiful. So it will be good if you edit it. Poetry is the outburst of a single inspired moment. For poets, novelists, and literatures, I fixed this before. Arg. Anyways, I'll go over that later. So for poets, novelists, and literatures, discussions on the nature of God constitute the utmost limit of their pursuits. If connoisseurs of literature and lovers of poetry do not accept the subject of God as the focus of their deliberations, there is fruitless toil. Hence, Śrīmad Bhagavatam, the king of sacred scriptures, says that discourse of literature, no matter how eloquent, which never extols the glories of Vāsudeva, sanctifier of the universes, is likened by scholars to a place of pilgrimage for crows. And that's from Śrīmad Bhagavatam 1.5.10. This is because saints who abound in Parabrahma, the Supreme, take no delight in such discourses. In the kingdom of mundane pleasures, conditioned souls read and promote books concerned with gross sensuality. Transcendental poets and literatures, I don't know how you say that word actually. Let me just look this up because I want to fix the spelling of that anyways. Give me a second here, guys. It's that. Anyways, I don't know how to actually, this doesn't make sense to me. But I will just fix this. Give me a second, guys. How come letting me add note? Alright, done. Okay, so transcendental poets and literatures, I don't know how you pronounce it, adept in Bhagavad Ras, they only disinterest in this mundane poetry and literature, knowing it all to be but fleeting ventures averse to the service of Hari. On the other hand, utterances that extol Bhagava's Shri Nam may not maintain perfect tune, beat, tempo, and meter. It might not maintain perfect tune, beat, tempo, progression, but it is those out destroy people's sinful tendencies. All that saintly personalities hear, recite, and remember daily, thus reaping ultimate benefit for their souls. Utterances that do not describe Sri Krishna's pastimes, the various topics bereft of Bhagavan's glories that are propagated around the world, offer nothing for the scrutiny of any intelligent person. Kirtan, extolling the glories of Sri Bhagavan and his devotees, has the capacity to evaporate the fathomless ocean of sorrows that afflict mankind and is supremely delicious and charming in newer and newer ways. Discussion of topics that are bereft of Krishna submerge the consciousness of the soul in an ocean of sorrow, whereas singing the glories of Bhagavan, instead of invoking a sense of lacking, abhav, establishes the living entities in their true natures, their swabhav, endowing their souls with eternal auspiciousness. Without devotion to Sri Krishna, the experience of life is meaningless to the soul. Therefore, Scripture says, Vidya vayo kavitam chashobha sundara rupam vifalaptam eva Shri Krishna bhaktim vina naranam sindhur bindur vidhava lalate. To be learned and of esteemed age, quoting poetry and flaunting luxury and beauty is all fruitless for a human being without devotion to Sri Krishna, like sindur and a bindi on a widow. Without devotion to Bhagavan, the sadhak or sadhika's knowledge, maturity, poetry, affluence, and vanity, fruitless. Those who have unconditional devotion to Sri Bhagavan are heir to the sum total of all desirable attributes. Let me reread that. Those who have unconditional devotion to Sri Bhagavan are heir to the sum total of all desirable attributes. Where are the dignified qualities of souls opposed to Sri Hari? Constantly chasing evil whims, choosing only ultimate misfortune. But even in regard to singing the glories and pastimes of Sri Hari, sadhaks or sadhikas have different qualifications. The neophyte Kanishta Adhikari's worship of Bhagavan is outlined from Shanta, Dasya, Sakya up to Vatsalya Ras. Only supremely liberated personalities are deemed qualified for Unata Ujjvala Madhurya Ras. Should a person who has not controlled his or her senses discuss that mood improperly, he will end up regarding the divine couple, Chillila Mithuna, Shishi Radha Govinda, to be a mundane hero and heroine, and thus become a Prakrit Sahajya. Aside from the designations of the 13 deviant Apasampradaya sects, their names Kishori Bhaja, Ghara Pagala, Grihi Baula, Smarana Panti, Yugala Bhajananandi, etc., are used to refer to such. Therefore, it is necessary for the sadhak to proceed in bhajan sadhan, having made a special effort to assimilate these considerations of varying levels of eligibility. When you have time, read Vidharma, Prem Pradeep, Shriman Mahaprabhu Shiksha, Mayavadar Jivani, Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Shri Krishna Prema Tarangini. Memorize the Dainya, the humility, and Vigyapti, the confession prayers from Shri Gaudiya Giti Gucha. Long I missing, and practice those kirtans in a soft melodic voice. Try to study books that glorify Sri Navadip Dham. Read the Sri Gaudiya Patrika articles and other offerings in a patient and steady fashion. Parts that seem unintelligible will become simple and easy with repeated study. And if you are still having trouble, then let me know, and I will try my best to curb your doubts. Try to make the best use of time. Never waste your time out of laziness. If you're living at home, you have people to affectionately look after and tend to. In the midst of all that, you have to maintain the practice of taking some time out to complete your daily worship and study of various books. These activities are referred to as the limbs of bhakti. Of the 64 limbs of bhakti, it is only by the cultivation of Navada bhakti, Shravana, Kirtanam, Smaranam, etc., that one can attain bhakti prem for Sri Bhagavan. This is the verdict of saints, scriptures, and Guru. Every day, without fail, you must complete your vowed number of utterances of Sri Nam. As per Sriman Mahaprabhu's directive, you will have to chant Lakshanam and become a Lakshapati. Only then will Bhagavan directly accept the water and grains you offer. Everything we do in this material world is so that we can chant Sri Nam. So you must tailor your environment in such a way that you can properly execute the vow of chanting Sri Nam. Uttering Sri Nam without offenses and having direct vision of Bhagavan are synonymous. Wow, that's really awesome. Okay, I'm adding that to my list of quotes. One second. All right, so this is letter 5. Okay, cool. If with strong conviction and one-pointed focus, you dedicate yourself to performing sadhan bhajan, Sri Bhagavan will surely have mercy on you. Why would you be a wretched and helpless, fallen, unworthy daughter? By Sri Gosundar's blessing, Srivas Pandit's housemaid went from being called Dukhi, sad, to Sukhi, happy. The royal princess Mirabai worshipped Giridhari Gopal and became renowned throughout the world as a most dignified woman and saint. If you study Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, you will behold the example of the divine lives of Sita Thakurani, Malini Devi, Vasudha and Janava Mata, Lakshmi Priya, Vishnu Priya, and other personal potencies of Vishnu, as well as Ganga Mata Gosvāmini, Hemalata Thakurani, and other glorious and learned Vaishnav ladies. If you study all that in Gaudiya Vaishnav literature, you will be able to properly grasp the contribution that the lives of these devotee women make. These letters have given rise to the sacred syllable Om. The letter A represents the one true hero of all the worlds, Shri Krishna, as he himself stated in the Gita, Aksharanam Akarosmi. The letter U represents Shri Radha, whom Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita refers to as Nayika Shiromani Radha Thakurani, the crowning jewel of all heroines. The letter Ma refers to the living entities who in this material world are differentiated as male and female and identified as sadhaks and sadhikas. Hence, the living entities can attain the omnipotent Bhagavan Shri Krishna through sadhan by worshipping the syllable Om and Shri Nam Brahma. The joining character U, representing Shri Radhika, with the letters Ma, produce the name Uma. Even though this then entails Shri Radharani being envisioned as mother, it does no harm to her personal identity or mood as divine paramour. By worshipping Shri Radhika, who is Krishnamai, Krishna imbued, Paradevi, the supreme goddess, Sarva Lakshmi Mai, the reservoir of all goddesses of fortune, Krishna Mana Mohini, the enchantress of Krishna's mind, along with Shri Krishna, who is her Prananath, the Lord of her life, you will attain bhakti to them. Your name Uma will then be successful. That's a very deep explanation of Uma. Only the company of Guru and Vaishnavas can foster auspiciousness for the soul, for no matter where they are, that place becomes Sri Vrindavan. That is why Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung, Jatai Vaishnavagan, Se Stana Vrindavan, Se Stane Ananda Ashesh. Wherever the Vaishnavas are, that place is Vrindavan, and in that place, the bliss is endless. Actually, I think this is from Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur. That's why I didn't give a reference here, because that's from the Upadesh section of Kalyana Kalpataru. You have been able to hear the glories of Sri Hari from the shining, beautiful faces of the Vaishnavas, and you have the opportunity to see them all the time. This is a matter of great good fortune. Should Sri Bhagavan give me the time and opportunity to go to Trunchura, I will try to fulfill your request. Eagerness for hearing and chanting topics pertaining to Bhagavan will surely propel you along the path of devotion. Danya daya anyaman pratishta varjan, chari gune guni hoy koroho kirtan. Humility, compassion, respect for others, and shirking of prestige. Develop these qualities and perform kirtan. This was Sri Gaurasundar's special order and instruction. If, in accordance with these instructions, one becomes exclusively dedicated to performing bhajan of Sri Nam, then along with Sri Nam, Sri Nami, who is Sri Hari himself, will appear to you. Perform bhajan of Hari without any worries, and your spiritual well-being, your kalyan, will be assured. Iti, your eternal well-wisher, Sri Bhaktivedānta Vāmana. Okay, so this is the last letter I'm going to read for today. Letter 6. Srila Māhārāja's humorous exchange with his godbrother. The nature of the conditioned soul. Gaining worldly convenience cannot be called real mercy. The Vāmana-sevaka utilizes all conveniences in the service of Bhagavan. The home of a devotee who is exclusively dedicated to Guru is a mat, revealing a semblance of its svaru via humour. This was written in 1971. Shri Vaishnav Charane Dandavan Nati Purvikeyam, offering prostrated obeisance at the feet of the Vaishnavas. Okay. Blank Prabhu. Your letter dated 5/3/71 came into my hands in good time in Navadvip. I could not understand the cause for concern when you did not receive news of me or a letter from me for many days. I did not know there was someone to worry about me. When I received your letter, I came to know I will not simply perish in a field somewhere or along the banks of the Gomati River, Maranam Chau Gomati Tire. I will not have to lose my life, which is worth at least 5 rupees, in a Gobha Gada, a place where cow carcasses are thrown. After 2 months, I am reading and replying to the letter you sent on 5/3/71. Surely this counts as a gracious letter. Despite in an era of independence, all the touting of the slogan, "This freedom is false." What presently passes for mercy is letting people be whimsical and do as they please. If a person or persons experience some joy from receiving a letter drenched in such mercy, then what objection can I have? I have managed a checkmate for cheap. This is my special gain. You wrote to Navayogendra to find out where I am preaching. He did not provide the address, or he could not. How could a Parivrajak, a roaming mendicant, or a Bhavagura, as the slang goes, have a definite address? It is to attain the state of finding meals here and there and sleeping in the marketplace, Bhojanam Yatra Tatra Shayanam Hatta Mandire, that he has received the title Bhavagura. This should have a footnote, shouldn't it? I'm going to give this a footnote. Not a footnote, sorry, I mean definition. The Navayogendras, the Chatusan, 4 Kumaras, Narad and others, and even Bhagavan have no purpose in finding a home in this bhavatavi, this forest of material existence. Deva najanati kuto manushya. That is impossible for the devas, what to speak of men. Nowadays, from time to time, I have a great desire to live out a solitary life, which is why I put a veil over my head and attempt to live incognito. But when there is a shortage of food at the prominent haunts, the vigilance of the CIDCO, the Criminal Investigations Department, increases. That is when they agitate the winds of the sky, track down my hidden outposts, and I get caught and arrested by them like a defendant under investigation. I think he's referring to his disciples there. There is no escaping their clutches. They steal everything I have and cast me far away in a helpless condition. This is my ultimate predicament. To whom will I convey this woeful tale, and who will hear? There is no one in this world to listen to or lend an ear to my pitiful crying. I had such a hope that, hearing of my woes, the Vaishnav master will profusely petition Krishna for me. Shunya amara dukkha Vaishnava Thakur amalagi Krishna avi dibena prachur. However, she asha vifal, se jnana durbal, se jnana agyana jani. That hope did not bear fruit, and that knowledge was weak. I know that knowledge to be ignorance. So there's a footnote here, quoting from two different songs from Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur's Kalyana Kalpataru and Sharanagati, Kashi Chaitanya More Kori Benadoya, verse 5, and Vidyaravilase, verse 2, Srila Māhārāja is expressing his humility and the excruciating separation he feels from the Vaishnavas. He is not in any way suggesting that Vaishnavas are liable to disappoint those who seek their aid. One person makes a sankalpa, an oath, to perform Sri Dham Parikrama, or, in other words, attempts to pull up the anchor of material attachment, while another gives more credence to the attachments of samsara and says, I did not have the good fortune to go on parikrama. One second. Okay. He then becomes averse to engaging in the limbs of bhakti. Yes, and nobody should say, oh, I've just... Anyways, yeah. Man creates his own fortune himself. Through sincerity and firm conviction, that good fortune arises. Sorry. Okay. Man creates his own fortune himself. Through sincerity and firm conviction, that good fortune arises. If the sadhak makes no effort and blames everything on his luck and the fruit is karma, he will not attain perfection as sadhan. This cycle of samsara is fearsome. This is a definite truth. Yet it is only through Krishna's samsara that one attains the well-being of the soul. Krishnera samsara koro chari anachar. Engage in Krishna's samsara and give up misconduct. This is a positive instruction. Knowingly, though having heard this, the jiva transgresses and drinks poison. This is a symptom of the conditioned soul. It is because the Baddha jiva cannot understand what is Shreya, ultimately good for him, and what is Preya, immediately palatable, that he thinks good to be bad and holds fast to what is bad for him, thinking it to be good. If a man had a proper grasp of good and bad, if he were established in of truth and falsity, then he would never be able to mix. One who has seen the truth living entity utterly devoid of the four flaws of rambha, pramad, the tendency to commit mistakes and become a legend, and so forth. He is a self-realized sadhak, imperfect, an eternally perfected Mahapurusha, great personality, a saint who sees all to be equal. If the jiva earns such a personality's mercy, then and only then is he blessed, his life made a success. By the mercy of Sri Guru and you have been transferred to a convenient situation. This is without a doubt good news, but can it be called Guru and Vaishnav's genuine mercy or not? Whether or not getting good employment, winning a suit, having one's unhappiness or misery alleviated, and other such achievements are to be called mercy is a matter to ponder. Western materialists keep saying, God, give us our daily bread. Certain classes of India's words, Delaya de Ram, give to me, Ram, and hanker for their livelihood from Bhagavan. Some even worship Ruti Bhagavan, the bread god. And some thereafter so some even worship Ruti Bhagavan, the bread god, and have thereafter taught faith in God. In truth, these are all champions of apotheosis, attaining a so-called divine status. Sri Guru and Vaishnavas do not hanker for earthly objects from Bhagavan. He is only to be prayed to for unconditional devotion. He is only to be prayed to for unconditional devotion. To pray for wealth, followers, etc. from the Supreme Father, Sri Bhagavan, is not worthy of the term Pitri Bhakti, devotion to the Father, or Bhagavad Bhakti. Rather, it comes in the category of mundane lust and hankerings. A Vamra-sevaka, or intimate servant of Sri Guru and Vaishnavas, however, who is exclusively dedicated to their service, obtains every advantage, convenience, and necessary qualification in the course of his sadhana. Without praying to Sri Bhagavan, he obtains all these things, and because his every endeavor is for Krishna's sake, Krishnarte Akila Cheshta Vishishta, everything he obtains proves favorable for bhakti. Therefore, he does not, like the karmi, the elevationist, or jnani, the salvationist, invoke gross and subtle gratifications. He knows one who is devoid of attachment, yet endowed with relationship, sambandha, sees Madhav as the source and sum of all the objects of the senses. Asakta rahita, sambandha sahita, vishaya samuha, sakali madhava. That's from Srila Saraswati Thakur, Dushtamantumiki Sera Vaishnav. That Vamra-sevak's vow is this: Tomara dhan, tomai diye, tomara hoy rai. I deliver your wealth unto you and remain yours. Such a person is a soul offered in submission, free from all material possessions, exclusively surrendered to Krishna, and fixed in the dharma of giving respect to all and expecting none in return. True benefit is reaped from serving that devotee whose exclusive life goal is Bhagavad Bhakti. He alone is Jagat Guru, spiritual master of the world. When the construction work on the house begins on the day of Sri Vyas Puja, then surely it will manifest as the seat or temple of the followers of Vyas. May the schools of thought that oppose Vyas not be honored in that place, and may the Puja Panchak be forever conducted there. You know the Puja Panchak, right? I'll just look at it. It's worship of the 7 groups of 5. The Vyas Panchak, Krishna Panchak, Sanakadi Panchak, Panchatattva Panchak, Upasya Panchak, Acharya Panchak, and Guru Panchak. Where is I lost my spot. Oh, there. If the jivas can follow the example of Sri Vyasa Guru, they can attain their true well-being. It is indicative of conviction in Sri Vyasa Guru to be inspired in that regard and enlighten others. The endeavors involved in establishing a pit, or a place of worship, of Sri Guru executed by devotees who are exclusively dedicated to the service of Guru are surely praiseworthy. Guru Pit means an ashram, mat, or Sri Mandir. Therefore, though the topic of Griha Pravesh, a ceremony performed upon entering a new home, has been proposed, it does not pertain to the Griha Meda, or blind well of a bhogi, sense enjoyer, or physically engrossed deharami, which is all about sense enjoyment and leads to hell. Rather, it has to be referred to as mat pravesh, entering a new temple. This is a translation, not an explanation. There. All right. This is referred to mat pravesh, entering a new temple, because spiritual students dwell forever in an ashram, or mat, keeping themselves engaged in the service of Sri Guru and Vaishnavas and their mind absorbed in sadhan bhajan. There's only one duty, there's only one duty that has been ordained for every sadhak or sadhika, regardless of whether they are in the brahmacharya ashram, garhastha ashram, or sannyasa ashram. This isn't a long A here? I'll look this up. I think there should be a long A in there. Brahmacharya. Anyways, I'll look that up. Hence, in this case, the griha, our home, is a mat, and the mat is a home. They mean the same thing, being set up to achieve the same purpose. Alright, so even for all grahastas out there, your home is also a mat. Will Sri Vāmana obtain one cottage for rest and bhajan sadhan at the adhika ashram in alms? Of course, I will not seize the whole ashram and everyone in it on the pretext of begging 3 paces of lands. This much I can swear before noon. Surely, I will not be cheated of gaining assistance, since I am the dasi of Vanamali Shri Hari. I accept the leadership of Shri Tulsi, the dearly beloved of the golden-complexioned Shri Radharani and the crown jewel of connoisseurs Shri Krishna, and I strive to realize the real tattva about them. If I have a little place to stay, there will be no trouble in collecting everything else. I will have lemon and salt with me. All I will have to ask the grahastas is for rice, dal, vegetables, spices, and whatnot. There should be a Jnana Kanda, a toilet facility built alongside the ashram. This is indispensable for everyone, be they renunciates or householders. If I have the opportunity to go to Dadika in the month of Shravan Bhadra, I will have a chance to test everything in person. We're taking out the diacritic side of that. Okay. I love how the toilet is called Gyan Kanda. First, I was in the Siuri, Bengal, and afterwards, Rani Bahal, and then Anasan Bani, Jharkhand, where I met with Blank Prabhu and talked with him. Blank Prabhu, another Blank Prabhu, also came to Rani Bahal and met with me. He told me about his misfortune. When I think of his condition, I have compassion for him, but everything is a lesson from Sri Bhagavan. The sad thing is that now, in his old age, he is having to work the oil mill of material existence by himself. The amazing thing is that even in such conditions, we do not feel any disinterest in material life. Samsara is a battlefield and a school. We all will have to take lessons from this world. There is no end to these lessons. Those who can see the example of others and then be cautious themselves are the most intelligent. Such a person is truly expert at bhajan. Attaining Bhagavad Bhakti is their ultimate success. My body is really not well. Still, I have to go out traveling a lot. All these places are about 5 miles from the Pakistan border, East Pakistan, later Bangladesh. 2 or 3 days ago, a great many people were injured by gunfire in Pakistan and admitted to the local hospital. There is no benefit to fearing for one's life. Please accept my dandavats. Iti. Servant of the Vaishnavas, Shri Bhaktivedānta Vāmana. Alright, so tomorrow we will read tomorrow morning, we will read from letter 7 on. I'm just going to show you guys. This is the schedule I made for myself when I was doing the fidelity check of all these letters. See, as soon as I'd check a letter, I'd mark it off. And so we just finished week 1. Tomorrow morning, I'll read this. Yeah. And so every week I would do a fidelity check. That means like I would read the Bengali and compare it with Srivasa's translation and make sure that there was nothing missing, and like that fidelity check. And I do like around 9,000 words a week. And so now just doing this proofread, I want to do like 9,000 words each reading. So, yeah, and I want to get through this in like the next 10 days. So this is what I'm hoping to do. Like in the morning, I read 9,000 words, and then in the evening, read another 9,000 words. And then we can get through it all. Yeah, this book's nearly 500 pages. It's like, all right. Oh, lit. Okay. Okay, thanks, Manjari. Okay, yes, I will. I think I remember what you're talking about. Yes, the Bhavaguri, right? All right, Dandavat pranams, everybody. Haribol. See you all tomorrow morning. Manjari, you already read all these letters. You're proofreading them, right? Anyhow, all right. Jai Shri Radhe, everybody. Haribol.